So the first thing we can do here is make a crude t-chart, or just a t-chart real quick. So we're going to make an x and a y. So we have -5 to 0. Off here, onto the side, I'm going to put open circle. Because remember, we have to go to this point, but we leave an open circle at 0 because it cannot equal 0. So then we'll just plug in. So -5. -5 times 2 is going to be -10 plus 2, so that's going to end up being -8. Then the next one is going to be -4. -4 times 2 is -8 plus 2, -6. And if you follow the pattern, we're just going to increase by 2 every time. So it'll be -4, -2, 0, and this would be at 2. Okay, so then the next one we're going to look at, we'll do the second t-chart. So x and y. So this one goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It tells us that we'll stop at 5, and this is a closed circle. So closed circle. That's because this is going to be an equal to sign. So we'll plug in 0. 0 squared minus 3 is going to be -3. So then 1 squared minus 3, 1 squared is 1, 1 minus 3, minus 2. So then 2 squared minus 3, that's going to be 4 minus 3, so that'll be 1. 3 would be 9 minus 3, so 6. The next one is going to be 4 squared minus 3, so that's going to be 13. And then our last one will be 25 minus 3, so 22. So I'm going to draw a quick graph up, and then I'll let you see that. Okay, so I quickly drew up a graph. I'm going to go by 2's on the x-axis and 2's on the y, 1 on the x-axis. So we'll just graph our first point. So -5, -8. So -5, -8, it would be about here. Then the next one is going to be -4, -6. And then it's going to be -3, -4, -2, -2, -1, 0, and then we'll put an open circle at 0, 2. And then we'll graph this one. So 0, -3, so that's going to end up being right in between here. And then we'll have 1, -2, so point right there. And then 2, 1. Be just about 2. 3, 6, so 3, 6 right there. 4, 13, and then our last one will be 5, 22. So all the way up there. Okay, and then we just connect the line. You have your graph. When you're graphing this on graph paper, it'll look a lot nicer, a lot cleaner. So this is number 1. Okay, now we'll be moving on to number 2. So number 2 says create a piecewise function from the graph below. So this one, you just need to really identify to start the different points where it breaks, where you get a new line. What I would actually start with is the domain. So I'd say f of x equals, and then it's going to be 3 equations. We have 3 different lines, so we can actually break it up. So this one, it's going to keep on going, so it's anything. So it's when x is less than, and that one can be equal to -1. So this one in the middle here, it's going to be when -1 less than x less than or equal to 1. So we're going to say it can't equal that point. They're at the same, it's not a big deal, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll just make that part of this equation. So we'll say it does not equal, but it is greater than, and then x is going to be less than or equal to 1. So then we'll go on to the last one. The last one's range is anything greater than 1. So x is greater than 1. So that would be our domains, and we just have to write the equations. So the first thing I do is I check the slope. So this one, its slope is over 1 up 1, over 1 up 1. So that's a slope of 1. So we just put an x. You can put 1x, that's fine, but just x will work. And then we just need to see where the y-intercept is. So if we were to continue our trend over 1 up 1, our y-intercept would be at 2. So we do x plus 2. And that's our first one. So then the next one, our y-intercept is at 1, and we don't have any different points. Our slope's not changing, nothing. So we're just going to put a 1 there. And then this one, it looks like it goes up 1, 2, 3 over 1. So that'd be a slope of 3. 3 over 1 is 3. And then we need to figure out where we cross the y-axis. So we can continue this. So down 1, 2, 3, back 1. So it looks like it would cross at -2. And there you go. That would be your piecewise function for this graph here. Okay, moving on to 3. So create a piecewise function for the graph below. So this one, this actually right here is going to be our absolute value. So we can actually break it right here and here. And then we're going to only have to have 2 different equations. So if we're looking at our domain again, or it'd be 3 different equations. All right. We're going to have 3 different equations. So for this one, it's going to be anything less than 0. So for this one, we'll say x is less than or equal to 0. If x is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to use this first equation. So the next one, it's going to go from 0 to 1, 2, 3. So 0 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 3. And then our last domain is going to be from 3 up. So if x is greater than 3, that will work. Okay, so this is an absolute value. If we check, our vertical scale is what it normally is. So it'd be x. It doesn't have a 2 or 3, nothing. So it's just 1 up 1 over 1. So we'd say absolute value of x. And then we need to shift it to the left 3 spots because we didn't move up or down vertically, we just shifted to the left. So actually, this is going to be absolute value of x plus 3. So that's going to move it to the left 3. And that would be our equation for that one. So in this next one, we're again going to look at the slope. So the slope is down 2 over 1. So if we're going down, it's a negative. Down 2 over 1. So it's going to be 2. And whatever our slope is goes with x. And then we'll see where the y-intercept is. It's at 1, 2, 3. So plus 3. So then this one right here, now we're going to end up splitting it right here. So first thing again, look at your slope. So we're going up 1 over 2. So up 1 over 2, that's going to be 1/2. So 1/2 x. And then we just need to see where the y-intercept would be. So if we go down 1, back 2, and then it's actually in the middle, so down 1/2, back 1. This point right here is where it would cross, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. So minus 4.5. And that would be our piecewise function for 3. So that is complete. We'll move on to 4. So number 4. It says you have a summer job that pays time and a half for overtime. That is, if you work more than 40 hours per week, your hourly wage for the extra 1.5 times your normal hourly wage of $7. So normally we make $7. If we ended up working more than that, we do 7 times 1.5. So it'd be $7, and then half of 7 would be 3.5. So it's going to be a total of 10.5. So $10.50 is how much we'd make then. So we're going to create a piecewise function. So our domain again will be the first thing we want to set up. So if we work 0, we're going to work a little bit more than 0, so it can't equal 0. But 0 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 40. So this can keep on going until we hit 40 hours. And then our next equation, if we work over 40 hours, so if x is greater than 40, then we're going to work with the second equation. So summer job pays time and a half. If you go into overtime, well, let's look at our original. So we originally get paid $7 an hour. So this is a really easy one. We just do 7 times x. That would be it. $7 by however many hours we've worked there, and that will be enough for us. So in this next one, we're going to change how much we make hourly. So it's going to be 10.50. So we can do 10.50x, but we can also do something that will make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So this is how much we're going to get paid after we've worked 40 hours. So we can do this right here. If we do x minus 40, then that's going to say every hour after 40 hours, so if we work 41 hours, we'll get this pay for only 1 hour. So that's kind of why we put minus 40 right here. The other alternative is to do 1050x and try and find what your y-intercept would be. This way, then we just do 7 times 40, and when we do that, we're going to get 0 to 80. Then we just add our $280 that we've already made. So this would actually be the piecewise function already made. So next one is how much money would we make after working 50 hours. So then we just plug in 50 hours. But first we have to determine, is it going to fit in this one or this equation? And this would be the equation because 50 is greater than 40. So we'll do 10.50 times 50 minus 40 plus 280. So this is going to become, let's write this off to the side, 10.50 times 10 plus 280. So when we do 1050 times 10, we just move the decimal one place over, so $105 plus 280. So that's going to end up equaling $385. So that's how much we get paid if we work 50 hours in a week. Alright, so moving on to the next one, it says your cell phone plan costs $75 a month and gives you unlimited talk and 500 text messages per month and no data plan. So after 500 texts, it's going to cost us 10 cents per text. So we're going to write a piecewise function again. It's going to be similar to this. So f of x equals, and we really should state what our variable is. So x is going to equal text messages. F of x is going to equal dollars, how much money we've spent. And we could go back up here and say f of x equals dollars earned, and we could say x equals hours worked. Sometimes that helps just so that you keep things straight in your mind. Okay, so we need to figure out our range. So for the first one, it's just going to be 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 500. We can go from 0 to 500 and we'll be covered under this plan, it's fine. The other range, or the domain, is going to be when x is greater than 500. If we send more than 500 texts, we're going to have to pay the certain fee. So when we only send between 0 to 500 texts, it's going to cost us $75 flat. That's just how much we're going to pay. If we pay, or if we send more, then we're going to pay 10 cents, so 0.10. And that's going to be how much we're increasing every time we send a text over 500. So we're going to subtract 500 just like we did up here. The reason is that every time we send a text over 500, then we pay 10 cents. So if we send 501 texts, then we will pay 10 cents, that's it. And this will make sure that we only pay for how many texts we've gone over 500, not all the 500 leading up to that as well. So that would be our equation. So the next part, how much would it cost to send 800 texts in 1 month? So 800 is going to be greater than 500. So we go 10 cents times 800 minus 500 plus 75. So then we're going to have 10 cents times 300 plus 75. So 300 times 0.10, that's going to make this $30. So 30 plus 75 is $105.